Welcome back to my stand-up channel. A Florida sheriff has speculated that Brian Laundrie probably committed suicide before his skeletal remains were found by investigators at a nature reserve earlier this month. Laundrie's remains were found in a grassy stretch of land in Myakkahatchee Creek Park on October 20, more than 5 weeks after he vanished from his parents' home in Northport on September 13. The area of the park where investigators made the discovery had, in the weeks prior, been submerged in floodwaters brought on by a flurry of storms and hurricanes in the region. Officials have not yet been able to determine a manner, cause, or time of death because of the advanced state of decomposition Brian's remains were found in. They are currently being examined by a forensic pathologist, with results expected to be returned in 2 to 3 weeks. At a police conference in Venice on Friday night, Sarasota County Sheriff Kurt Hoffman, whose department assisted in the search for Laundrie, revealed that the area where Brian's remains were found had been bogged by up to 4 feet of water for several weeks before they were discovered. Laundrie's parents had reportedly told police to search that area back in September, according to their attorney, but the treacherous conditions inside the alligator-infested park prevented them from doing so. While the matter remains under investigation, Hoffman also curiously offered speculation about how Brian died. Suicide speculation. That guy went out there and by all accounts probably committed suicide, and he was right out there where we thought he was, he said, according to the Herald Tribune. Hoffman's remarks come as the first time a police official has publicly speculated about how Laundrie died. It's unclear whether police found any evidence at the scene that supports Hoffman's comments. A notebook and backpack of Laundrie's were also recovered from the scene. Experts have previously told The Sun that the notebook, in particular, may contain key information about Laundrie's final moments of life, along with those of his slain vlogger fiancé, Gabby Petito. Among them was former NYPD homicide detective Tom Joyce, who also said that it's likely that Laundrie's remains were snacked on by alligators and other wildlife after his death. According to Joyce, even if Laundrie had died on the day he vanished, that wouldn't be enough time for his remains to naturally decompose to the extent they were found in. Hoffman's comments on Friday came as part of an event at the South County Tiger Bay Club, in which Northport Police Chief Todd Garrison also addressed a series of mishaps his department suffered in their probe into Laundrie. One such error included mistaking Brian for his mother, Roberta, on secretly planted security cameras 3 days after he'd already vanished. Northport PD first began watching Brian after Gabby's family reported her missing on September 11, 10 days after he returned from the cross-country road trip without her. On September 13, Northport police watched Brian leave his parents' home in his gray Mustang through cameras they'd secretly planted outside of the home. 2 days later, investigators thought they saw him return to the family home in the same car. Amid increasing media attention, Northport Police Chief Todd Garrison told reporters on September 16 that police were confident about where Brian was. However, the next day, Brian was reported missing by his parents, who said they hadn't seen him since Sept. 14. That date was later revised to Sept. 13 in a statement issued by the family's attorney. The person who they had seen get out of the Mustang was actually Brian's mother, it would later emerge. Investigators said the fact she was wearing a baseball cap and is built similarly to Brian was the cause of the confusion. A spokesperson for Northport PD previously suggested that the mishap had no significant bearing on the outcome of the case, but criticism has still flooded in thick and fast. Thought it was a ploy. Speaking on Friday night, Garrison defended his department's probe and insisted that for the first 3.5 days after Gabby was reported missing, Northport police were only operating in a support role to cops in New York, where Petito's missing persons report was filed. What a lot of people don't know, in June, Gabby and Brian moved out of their location and put a lot of stuff into storage, and they changed their address and moved to New York, and from there, they left for their cross-country adventure, Garrison said, according to the Herald Tribune. On September 14, working in conjunction with the FBI, Northport then became the lead agency on what was still technically a search for Petito, he said. Now, we know that by the time we became the lead agency, Brian had already left the house and presumably had already been deceased out in the Carlton Reserve, Garrison said. We are out there in the public for making a human error, the surveillance team told me. Chief Brian was seen going inside the house, he added. So when Garrison told media on Sept. 16 that he knew where Laundrie was, it was 100% in my belief that what the team told me was accurate and Brian was outside the house. Later on, we found out that Brian had left the house and now the parents on Friday wanted to report him missing, Garrison said. There was nobody more surprised about that than me. In fact, when my officers went out to the house to do the report with the FBI, I sat with the deputy chief in my office, hoping that they would find Brian hiding in a back bedroom, he said. I was hoping, maybe it was a ploy. It wasn't. Human error. Garrison said he stands by the efforts of the investigators who made the bizarre mistake. As a 30-year law enforcement veteran doing surveillance, this is not uncommon, and if any expert out there says it is, they're lying to you, Garrison said. I can tell you one thing, the amount of work that was done, behind the scenes, 24 hours a day, from our team and the FBI team working on the second floor of the police department, was phenomenal work. That work led the search teams to locate Gabby Petito deceased, Garrison said. I want to remind everyone, our primary focus is the first couple of days was to find Gabby. If Brian did go on the run, he would be found, I was confident of that, he continued. People are making judgments on things that were discovered or learned over the last 5 weeks. We didn't know a lot of this information over the first 4 days. He continued, yes, we made a mistake, it was human error, but I still stand behind my team. Probe continues. Brian and Gabby Petito had been on a cross-country road trip touring the U.S. national parks when Gabby vanished in late August, 2 weeks after the couple was involved in a domestic violence dispute in Moab, Utah. Petito's family last heard from her on August 27, receiving a text they characterized as strange before Gabby's phone was switched off for good. Her body was found at a dispersed campsite near Grand Teton National Park, in Wyoming, on September 19. A coroner determined that she had been strangled to death by a human force, some 3 to 4 weeks before she was found. Brian has never been named a suspect in Gabby's death but is the sole person of interest in the case. He was also wanted on bank fraud charges after allegedly racking up $1,000 in charges on a credit card belonging to Gabby in the days after she was killed. An investigation into Brian's cause of death and Gabby's murder remains active and ongoing. Source: nypost.com. Please like, share and subscribe. Thank you for watching.